Hi everybody, my name's Danny Androutsos. I'm an English teacher with Windsor School, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about job hunting, a unique approach. I might as well tell you a little bit about me before we begin. So today we're going to talk about tips for job hunters. Can someone tell me what a job hunter is?
Someone who hunts for job?
Yeah, someone who's looking for work. Someone who needs a job. This is basically going to be my personal opinion about what the good things you should do when you're looking for a job, when you're in an interview, and from my own experience as well. So some of these things you may not agree with, but I'll share with you my knowledge, and you can take what you want and leave what you don't. So I am from New Zealand. It's a long way away. But we prefer to see the world like this. So we're actually at the center, and everything else is down here. So basically, I was born in New Zealand. I grew up in New Zealand, but I'm also Greek. I have 3 Greek grandparents, and they all migrated to New Zealand. So I have 2 homes, 2 home countries, New Zealand and, where they put it, Greece, sort of thing here. So, what have I done in my life? Well, I went to university, I studied psychology and linguistics, and then I found a job. I started working for a publishing company, a legal publishing company. So they make books and resources, online websites for lawyers to use, for accountants to use in their work. And I began on the telephone, which wasn't so much fun. And eventually, slowly, I became an editor. So I would be looking at the things that people have written and going, we have to fix that, we have to fix that. But I was like the last editor, what we call a sub-editor. So this means that somebody else has already found most of the mistakes, and you're just looking for the tiny mistakes. And when you find them, it's good because you've got something to do. You're like, yay, I can fix this. But sometimes you're just turning pages and pages and pages, looking and looking, and there is nothing to do. And so you start to get really bored. And so you travel. In fact, it's a very big part of the New Zealand culture to travel. I think it's because we're so far away from everything else that something from that makes us want to go. So often when people finish school, when they start studying at university, when they finish university, maybe after they've been working for a few years, they leave New Zealand and they go somewhere interesting like Brazil or, well, actually, generally most of them go to London, which isn't so interesting. But a lot of them go lots of other places. So I didn't do that. I studied and I started working, and I had small trips. But 2 years ago, I knew it was time. I was really bored. I didn't want to edit anymore. And I found an opportunity to go to Greece. I got a scholarship to study Greek because I didn't know Greek. I'd never spoken Greek. My grandparents spoke Greek. I had heard Greek all my life, but I couldn't speak it. And I had an opportunity to go back to the country that my family came from. So I quit my job and I went to Greece. Anyway, it came time to start looking for jobs. So I had to completely rewrite my CV, which we also call resume. That's right. And I didn't really have much teaching experience. And the CV I'd been making for years, I looked at it and I said, this doesn't help. I can't get a teaching job with these things. And I knew I had to make a brand new CV. And that was a very difficult thing because when you haven't been working for a while and you're in another country and you're thinking of going to another country, you think, well, what do I have? Why will they give me a job? What can I show them? But the wonderful thing about writing your CV, especially when you begin again, is that you look through, firstly you think, I don't have the things I need, the experience I need, but you look through the things you did, you remember things you did at your job that you forgot, and slowly you find that, yeah, I guess I did do some teaching, like this boy with special needs that I looked after for 4 years. I was teaching him how to have social skills. And when I was working in the office doing software, testing software, I was solving problems. I was thinking about ways to resolve problems. And when I was working with these people from all of these different departments, I was finding ways to relate to people who have different needs and deliver the information, give them the information that they need. And I thought, okay, and then I had my teacher training that I've done. And it is teaching, because I was teaching in a class of people coming to learn English. So as I made the CV, when I finished and I looked at it, I saw a teacher. And he's only begun to teach. He's just begun teaching. But it is a teacher. So I put at the top of my CV, English language teacher. And at first when I wrote that, I thought, no, that's what I want to be. But by the time I finished, I decided that's what I am. I'm an English teacher now. So, writing your CV is therapy. When you write your CV, you find that you have the things you need to do what you want to do. You can find, if you have the desire and the passion, you can find the experiences that relate to the work that you want. So, something else. Don't apply for jobs you hate. Make sure that the job you're applying for is at least something you maybe would like to do. Like maybe you really need a job because you don't have any work at the moment and you need money, but don't do something that you know you'll hate. Don't apply, because you'll sit there and the person interviewing you will look at you and they'll say, why do you want this job? And you'll say, I don't want this job. And maybe you won't say that, but with your eyes you will say, I don't want this job. And they will know. So you take their time, you take your time, and nobody wins from this experience. There must be something you like about the job. Like you think, maybe I don't want to be in that part of town, but maybe I can get some good experience there that will make my next job better. Okay, I will apply. Then you have a good reason to apply. And then you can get experience from your interview, whether it's good or bad, and you win something. Okay, so now we're going to talk about other things that you need to do before the interview. So you've applied, they've emailed you, and they've said, we would like to meet you. We would like to have an interview. So, you've written your CV. Now, your CV is your best friend. Your CV tells you everything you need to know about yourself. It tells you everything that you need to be able to talk about when you go to the interview. So don't go to the interview and sit down with your CV when they say, what experiences do you have that would relate to this job? Don't go, I've got some here. I did this thing. I can do this job because I did this thing. No. Your CV is your best friend. You must be your CV. So if they ask you, you are already together with your CV and you can talk about the things you've done without thinking about them. Do your homework. So make sure you find out whatever you can about the company, and if you can, about the person that you'll be working for, your manager, and about the person that will be interviewing you. If you can. Maybe there's some information on LinkedIn or something like that, and you can find out some of their interests. Maybe you have something in common that you can mention during the interview, and you can start building a positive relationship. Maybe it doesn't have something to do with the job. Maybe you both like to play the same sport, or maybe you both grew up in the same area, went to the same university. These kind of things might help you a little bit in the interview to build a relationship. Phone a friend. Talk to one of your friends, one of your best friends, and tell them you need some practice for an interview. And have a quick look online, think of some things you want them to ask you, and get them to sit down and do the interview. Do as many practice interviews with your friends as you can. Because your friends are going to ask you the hard questions. They will not be afraid to ask you the hard questions. So this is good practice. You will think of how can I answer this? You will have a good opportunity to prepare. So get your friends before the interview. Prepare your body. Okay, I know this is the hardest thing to do, is to sleep before you have an interview the next day. But you've got to try. Staying up all night sometimes helps achieve things, but often even a little bit of sleep makes a big difference. So make sure you eat something, because this is how you make fuel for your body and your mind. And if you drink coffee, well, have a coffee. If you don't drink coffee, have a tea. Because if you have a coffee for the first time in months before your interview, you'll be like this.
Irish coffee.
An Irish coffee. That's not a bad idea. So
A little Irish coffee.
yeah, so we've got coffee and whiskey.
Go taxi.
Oh,
No, not drive. Go taxi.
Ah, taxi,
Little,
yeah.
Irish coffee and go taxi.
Or in Moscow, you could take the metro. You could probably take the metro. Or marshrutka. Sometimes better. So, yeah, be nice to yourself. Eat something, sleep a little, and have a coffee before the interview. Not hours and hours and hours before, so that you go down like this again before you go. So you have some energy. Dress nice, look fresh. So sometimes when we dress for an interview, we try really hard to look as handsome or as pretty or as we possibly can. And sometimes it doesn't feel natural because we're trying so hard to be impressive, to look impressive. A better way to think about this is dress how you would dress if you were going to the job, if you have the job. You're going to the job and it's maybe a day where you want to look a little bit nicer, but something you would still wear on a normal day to the job. So if you never would wear a suit at the job or a tie, don't wear a suit and a tie at the interview. I don't ever want to wear a tie in a job. So when I do an interview, I never wear a tie. I decided if I don't get a job because I'm not wearing a tie, then this is not the job I want. Like, if the skills that I have and the desire and the passion are not worth more than the tie, these are not the people I want in charge of my work, you know? So dress how you want to dress, but nice. Feel fresh. Maybe shave. This is something, I also like having a beard. But when I have an interview, I think, okay, for the interview I can shave. And we can start fresh. And then slowly I can grow the beard again, everything's fine. So don't be late or too early. 30 minutes early is not good. 30 minutes early means that you don't have anything better to do. You need a job so much that there's nothing going on in your life, so you can just roll up to the job and wait and wait and wait. It's not so good. 15 minutes, okay. 10 minutes, really good. 10 minutes early is great. 5 minutes, great. Right on time, also okay. 5 minutes late, not good. 1 minute late, not good. But if you're in Greece, none of these rules count. Clear your mind. This is very, very important because you spent all of this time thinking about the job, thinking about what you want to say, thinking about your CV and the things you want to talk about. And before you get to the interview, when you are waiting outside, when you're on the metro, when you're walking down the street, take some time and clear your mind. And this can be very helpful. So all you need to do is to say, if you're walking down the street, listen to the traffic, feel your feet on the ground, and look at the things around you. But try to clear your mind. Do not think. To sense these things, but don't think about them. When you're on the metro, you can close your eyes and you can hear all the noise of the engine. You can feel the metro doing this, but you push your thoughts away. So you do this before the interview, and it means that you will answer more naturally. Your mind will think of things more quickly. It makes a really big difference. You can do this in the interview. When you get asked a question, the moment when you're being asked a question and you're thinking, oh, how am I going to answer this? What am I going to say? You can take that away. When you're being asked a question, don't think. Just hear the question. Just hear it. And then start to respond. It's very helpful. Something else that happens with interviews is we're putting all this effort into saying these wonderful things about ourselves, and sometimes we feel like there are some things we need to not talk about because it's not so good for the job. And this is true. And sometimes when we do this, we don't feel like we're being so honest because we know the things that we do wrong. We know the weaknesses that we have. We know the things we don't want to talk about. We know the things we don't want to be at work. So the thing is, you don't have to be that person. Like, for instance, what I'm trying to say is, sometimes when I'm feeling by myself, if I'm not feeling very good about something, I can think, oh, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anyone today. But if I see my friends, then when I'm talking to these people, I become a happier person. I become more relaxed. I become more social. I become a better person. And this person is the better me. And you can't always be the best you all the time. You can't. But it's still you. Just because you're not always happy doesn't mean that when you're happy, when everything's great, it's not you. You are still you. So be the best you when you go there. You are you. You are not pretending to be someone who is wonderful. You are wonderful. And you are wonderful you in the interview. And the CV helps you here because this is telling you all the good stuff that you've done. All the good stuff that the best version of you did. It's not telling you about the times you were late for work, or the times that you were on Google for too many hours at work, or the times where you didn't make those deadlines. Those things aren't with you. It's the things you achieved, the things that you did do, the things you know you can do, the things you know you can do better. Maybe there are things that you haven't done yet, but you know you can do them. So when you get this question, why should I hire you? The answer that you want is a mix of the things that you've said about yourself on your CV that you have done, and the things that they have asked for in the job description. So you need to bring together your experience and what they are asking for. So when these things come together perfectly, this is when you're the perfect candidate. Okay, these questions come up a lot. Tell me about a time when you had a really stressful situation at work. Tell me about a time when you had conflict with a coworker and how you resolved it. These are examples. So what they want to know isn't the story. What they want to know, what they want to see is how do you deal with a problem? Because we all have problems, we all have stress. We can't pretend that we never get stressed, that we never have difficult situations at work. This happens. But what's more interesting for the interviewer is how you confront the problem. What you do after the problem happens. How do you think about it? How do you find a solution? So you can turn any bad thing that's happened into a positive result if you find the right solution. If you think about it in the right way. This is what they want. They want to know your reaction, then your thoughts, and then how you so here we're talking about how do you deal when you have many things to do at once and you are struggling to get them all done. Like, well, at first I feel a bit stressed, but then I think about the things that I don't have to do right now. And I know that I can do these things later, and these things I need to do right now. So I prioritize, and I make sure I get the most important things done first. Great. And this is the other thing. This is how you remember all the parts that you need to say. Start. So the first thing is you talk about the situation or the task that you had to do. Then you talk about the action that you took to address, to resolve the situation. And then you talk about the result of your wonderful action. And we always get asked about our weaknesses. The great thing about weaknesses is they can be the other side of strengths. So
I'm so responsible. I'm so responsible.
Yeah, I take too much work on.
Yeah.
I can't say no when somebody needs a hand. I'm really focused on details, so sometimes I put a lot of effort into making sure that all the small things are done correctly. More than I should, something like this. Like anything that shows that you make effort is good. And areas where you can improve. It's okay if there are things you haven't done. It's important to show that you're willing to do them. So don't send me your children, please. How do you handle stress? As I mentioned before, stress is natural. So you don't need to pretend that you never have stress. You just have to say something positive about it. Like, I get stressed, I take a moment to breathe, I laugh, and I carry on. Or I take a moment to clear my mind, and then I continue with the work I need to do. Or I go for a quick walk for 5 minutes, and I come back and I carry on. Because I find that when I take a break for 5 minutes, it's with 15 minutes of production. You take 5 minutes out, but the energy you put back in, it makes the time. You have a better result. When you get asked about your former boss, if you talk about your co-workers that you used to have, sometimes you might get asked, what would your former boss say about you? And you shouldn't say, oh, he'd say I'm the best worker he ever had, and he's crying because I left. He's waiting for me to come back, like I'm the savior of his company. No. But you can say some nice things about you. You could say something that's kind of neutral as well. Like, oh, you'd say I'm a really good team worker, and the kind of person that can, if he wants ideas, I've always got some ideas that he wants, and that I was very loyal to his team, and we had a positive working relationship, and I really respected him. That has to be true to say it. You can't say you really respected him if you didn't. But you can actually turn that question about you to a compliment or something about your previous employer. So you don't have to talk about all of the problems you might have had or things you might have done wrong. You can turn this question to be a compliment about your former boss. Be positive, whatever you do. So after the interview, if it's gone really badly and you're not feeling good at all, it's a really good idea to write about it. Like, get a piece of paper, get a diary, or whatever you've got, and just all of those feelings you have, the frustration, the disappointment, the things you maybe thought you did wrong, just write it all out. Don't even think about it. Just write it. Just write it out. And then don't throw it away, but put it in a drawer somewhere, like get it out of your sight. Don't look at it for like a week. And then in a week's time, have another look when your emotions are distant. And you can see maybe there was something that you did in the interview that you can do better next time. Or maybe you look at it and you say, oh, I don't think it was so bad. I think it was okay. This is very helpful. If you wanted the job, if you're waiting to hear back, send them an email and say, hey, how are you? I really enjoyed meeting you the other day and the interview. How's the recruitment process going? When do you think you'll be making a decision? But this is even better on the telephone, because often in big companies, there's a long list of applicants, and you might end up being one of the people in the middle. But if you telephone, you'll be like, oh, that guy telephoned about the job. Okay, we need to think about that. And you bring your name, your voice to the top again. So this doesn't mean you'll get the job, but they'll think about you. If you are good for the job, they will at least be thinking about you, not someone else. So now I'm going to show you a very small clip, an excerpt from a job interview. And I want you to try to point out two things that he does wrong when he answers the questions. I won't say anything else, but think about what I've showed you, the advice I've given you, and think about what he does wrong.
Tell me a little bit about what would your boss that you had at your last job, if I called him up and asked him what kind of employee you were, what would he say about you?
He will say bad things, but that is because he is a liar.
Okay. What things would he say?
He would say that I am very lazy.
Okay. What does he mean by that?
He think I do not like work.
Okay. What about the previous job that you had? What would that boss say about you?
He also say a bad thing. He a liar too.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so all of your former bosses are going to lie about you?
There is one that will say a good thing.
Which one is that?
He from a sales company,
Okay.
but he is dead.
He's dead?
Yes.
Okay, so we can't get in touch with him.
No.
Do you feel like you're the kind of person that can work well with other people?
Yes, I have very good work with other people.
Good.
And I want you to know that I can sniff out if there is a traitor in a company.
Really?
And if I find them, I can finish them.
Well, I really don't need you to do that.
What did he do wrong?
Was intimidating.
Everything.
Okay, so intimidating.
Yeah.
He was negative about his boss and himself as well.
Yes, negative about his boss and himself. That's pretty much it. So we've got 3 things there. Bad answers. Why should we hire you? I don't know. Sounds like a good job. Yeah. This is what happens when you pick the wrong job. What did you like least about your previous position? I hated the job in the company. They were awful to work for. Again, a little negative, you know. A little bit negative. What are your strengths? I do good work. I'm the best. I'm not sure, but I'm a good learner. Don't be vague. You have to have something real. You can't just say, I work well, I'm the best, I'm a good learner. It's good that you're a good learner, but there must be something else. Share a weakness? I can't think of any right now. I'm unfortunately perfect. I tend to lose my patience with stupid people. That's a fair weakness, but definitely not something you should say. How much are you going to pay me? It's too early. It's too early. This is something that you ask when you've been offered the job. Then you know that they actually want you. And then you can find out, well, where's the value? How much do you want me? Because maybe there's another job that wants me as well, something like this. So don't ask that in an interview. It's too soon. So we're pretty much at the end here. Kia kaha. These are 2 Māori words. Māori are the first people that went to New Zealand. They have their own language. Kia kaha means stay strong. If you're having a hard time, stay strong. If you have a bad interview, if you're getting rejected from jobs, it's okay to feel down, but you can get back up again, and you have to. And nothing is impossible. Like, I never thought I was going to end up teaching English in Russia, but I'm really happy to be here. And I feel like I am becoming the teacher, the person that I wanted to be. So, nothing is impossible.
So, you are interested in teaching at Harlem Village Academies, Mr.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I know who you are. I'm just not sure why you're here.
Well, a friend of mine, Steven Spielberg, told me to look on the Harlem Village Academy website, and I was blown away by it. Particularly the bit that said superstars are teachers.
It's the other way around, actually.
Right, and I just knew right then I had to audition.
Interview.
Here is my headshot. Headshots, I should say. Turn over, you're going to see 4 different.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's quite a range there, obviously.
You can do a Russian dialect.
Absolutely.
Neat.
Yes. Why don't we get started with a monologue?
The monologue.
You're going to need those. This is pretty powerful. Look, donkey, it's never going to work. Do you understand me? I'm a big, green, giant ogre, and she's a princess.
This is from Shrek?
I can do something musical, if you like. I got a song for you.
There's a song.
I see you driving around town with a girl I love, and I'm
Mr.
like,
Jackman?
Yeah, please call me Hugh.
Here's the thing. Harlem Village Academies, we are trying to develop the
Superstars.
very best teachers.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you have any background in education.
Of course, I worked at a school for 3 years.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Please tell me about that.
Well, I worked at a school upstate with very, very gifted students. You might call them mutants.
Oh, no.
In fact, the headmaster there, Professor Xavier.
This is the school from the X-Men movies.
Yes.
Yes.
Listen, before I get the job, can I just ask you a question? Is the school zipline accessible?
Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah.
We've already filled the position.
You've already cast the part? Did Neil Patrick Harris get this job? That little blonde twit, please, you did not give it to him.
No.
Because trust me, there is no way he could hold down a class of 25. Literally, because I understand at times you need to literally hold them down, right? And he doesn't have the muscle. You want to see muscle? Can Neil Patrick Harris do this? Look at this. 101, 102. I'm starting at 100 because I already did a bunch this morning. 3, 104. Okay. You can put your foot on my back if you like. I can still do them.
This interview is over.
5,096. 5,000. I skipped ahead. That's all right. I'll still be doing it when you come back.
But the good thing to know is that I would say never are you going to have an interview like this.
Verbalisti. Moja jezička mreža.
Well, Greg, your CV is certainly impressive, but I'm afraid you're not quite right for us.
Okay, fine. Thank you for considering me for the job.
And that's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. We need a cool-headed man like you on our team, Greg. That was a test, and you've passed. Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. So I've got the job?
No, of course not. I don't employ gullible fools. That was the test, Greg, and you failed. Goodbye.
Oh, all right then.
Greg, that's the nonchalant attitude we've been looking for. You passed the test.
Have I really?
No, that was the test. You questioned me. No one questions me. Now, if you wouldn't mind. Greg. You've passed the walking away test. Come on, sit down.
So, I've got the job?
Yes, you have.
Definitely?
Definitely. Oh, Greg, welcome to the company. Oh, sorry about all that test palaver. Can get a bit confusing, can't it?
Well, a bit, yes.
No, you're too easily confused! You failed the test! Oh, and I had such high hopes for you.
This is ridiculous.
Congratulations. This is ridiculous. You passed the test.
Oh, for God's sake. Keep your job.
Greg, this is the real final test. If you can hear me in your mind, then you will have passed. Really. Come back in, Greg. Come back in.
No! You failed the test!
Verbalisti. Moja jezička mreža.
So that's it for today. We're done. I hope there was something useful in all of that information. At least something. Good luck with your job interviews.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Well, all those things you said, all those advices, are they suitable for all kind of job seekers, or only in Russia, or only in English-speaking countries, or are there any special tips for English-speaking job contests or something like that?
Those tips are all relevant for me, from my experience, and I stand by them all, and I would say that they're internationally useful.
They're universal, sir. They're universal.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't guarantee you that this is the way the world will be.
Well, yeah,
but I believe that most of these things will be really helpful. Some people really want you to wear a tie.
Not about the tie, but just, sentence. There was a lot of psychological things. I like that, actually. Well, it's great if they're suitable for any kind of jobs.
Yeah, I think mostly they're ideas. So, because I haven't given you lines to say, like this is what you should say for this question, you can turn a lot of these things, and you can make a lot of these things work for you in the way that makes sense to you. And if it doesn't make sense to you, it's okay. You don't have to use all the advice that you get given.
Every man is unique.
Yeah, every person is unique. Any other questions?
You definitely passed 2 jobs or maybe more in New Zealand and 1 job interview in Russia. Is there any difference between Russian job interviews and New Zealand job interviews?
Well...
Is there any specific for New Zealand maybe?
Yeah, in New Zealand I was interviewed by New Zealanders. And in Russia I was interviewed by... I had 4 job interviews, and actually 3 of them were Russians. So, but the job that I got was the job where I was interviewed by a Canadian. So, but that was the job that I wanted as well. As far as the style, They seemed very similar. Like I had questions about my experience, or what I'd be willing to do at the job, what I had done before, and yeah, there's a lot of similarity. In New Zealand, I think I had harder questions actually, more questions about situation. What would you do in this situation? Can you tell me an example of a time where you dealt with a difficult issue in work, a time where you had to solve a problem? I had more of these questions in New Zealand. But because my interviews here were for a teaching position as well, I can't make a direct comparison because maybe the questions are always going to be a bit different depending on the field. Like, for instance, I had one interview to get this position, and sometimes you have to go through 2 or 3. Sometimes you have to be interviewed by 3 people, and sometimes it's just 1. Oh, the worst interview I ever had was I'd finished studying, and I'd been studying sign language at university as well, and there was a new position for somebody to be a job recruiter for the Deaf Society in Wellington. So your job would be to find jobs for deaf people. And I knew some sign language, so that's why I applied. But I've never been the kind of person that, like, I don't want to work in a position where I have to start everything from scratch. I like to go into a position where somebody else has done my job, so I can get some training, I can get some feedback, someone can tell me if there are things I'm doing well or things I need to work on. I'm not a self-starter. I don't like to begin a position from nothing. And they needed someone like that. And I hadn't prepared for the interview. I thought, okay, I'll just go and I'll just talk and it will be fine. And there were lots of really difficult questions. And there was 1, 2, 3, there was 5 or 6 people interviewing me. Like, 2 were interpreters, another one was deaf, and 2 other people could hear. And it was like, who am I talking to and what am I talking about? And oh my God, I'm not qualified for this job. What am I doing here? And I felt like I was going okay until they asked me, how is your time management? And I hadn't prepared an answer for this question yet, and I didn't have particularly good time management. So I said, it's okay. And I saw the face change, like, and I was like, I'm sorry, I want to leave. I didn't say that, I waited. But afterwards, when I left, I thought to myself, why did I do that? There's no point. I didn't learn anything from this experience. It was a waste of time. But after a few weeks, when I finally had another job, I thought about that interview and I realized that it was a useful experience because I'd been in a difficult, stressful situation, I'd done a horrible job, and I knew what I needed to work on to do a better interview. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes even the really bad things that happen can be useful for you to achieve something in the future. I don't even know what the question was. I'm sorry. Job interviews in New Zealand. Yeah. Anything else?
Yes. What is the best thing about being interviewed in a foreign country?
It was on Skype, and it was the first time I'd done an interview on Skype, and I really liked that I could be at home. I've been like doing anything before. There's no time you don't have to worry about catching the train or the bus to get here for the interview. So you can sit on your couch, make sure there's like a nice picture behind you, and put a shirt on. And the other thing is, because I had the computer on a table but a bit lower than my eyesight, you have a position of height over the interview. So you feel like it's your space, and the interview is in the machine, and you are in your own environment. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was great.